Every day you wake up sick, then you steal and sell your ass out here. I'm left with nothing.
New details coming out of the courtroom in connection with the death of a 3-year-old girl in Willimantic.
This is a heroin town. Small, rural, open, friendly, and hooked.
In my younger childhood, I saw Willimantic kind of go to a decline. You know, there was it looked dirtier. I felt a little less safe here. I remember all the sirens.
Heroin flows through this place as constantly as water flows under the Frog Bridge. Willimantic acts like the regional supermarket for drugs.
Drugs is a big one, alcohol consumption is another, but I also think our economy is a big negative influence. We have a very large homeless population, and that is usually our everyday population that's downstairs.
Honestly, I couldn't think of anything.
Willimantic has a lot of drugs and addiction. You have to be careful wherever you go. Bikes were stolen, houses broken into, and people are assaulted. There are a lot of homeless people, many of which are criminals or sex offenders. Wyndham can be very scary. You always have to be on guard. My bike was stolen. I really don't like Willimantic. There's a strong sense of poverty, and you feel like you'll always be poor.
You don't have a problem in Willimantic. In my opinion, you have an epidemic.
Businesses closed. Of course, people moved out of the community. A lot of jobs were, I would say, like people had to travel to their work, so they might have gone to a community closer to Hartford or some of the larger cities west of Willimantic.
Social workers come to Gilson Square to pass out mint and berry-flavored condoms from Wicker Basket to heroin-addicted prostitutes.
So it gets to be kind of a cycle where it attracts folks who need those services, and then oftentimes low-income folks have bring a lot of other needs for services. It can be particularly hard on a school system.
Right. So if you look at Willimantic, it's a distressed municipality, a lot of low-income housing.
Heroin Town was produced as a segment by 60 Minutes in 2003. This segment that played ruined the reputation of Willimantic and made people believe that this town, unlike any other, is the heroin capital of the world.
Well, I think it was a sad and unfortunate situation, but I think that one of the things that came out of it, especially because it made national news, that it brought awareness and it actually helped with combating it, I think. I was really frustrated myself that a lot of people in the community said, how could the Hartford Courant report this, and how it brought negative attention to the community, in which of course it did bring negative attention to the community, but I looked at it in another way, in that it helped to address the situation and that people really took notice and hopefully helped the people who had the issues with that.
They just had it out to make this look like the place in New England that is bad and stay away from. And it has hurt. It's hurt the school systems. People don't want to move here any longer. It's just hurt every avenue that we have in this town. But we can get it back. I really believe that if we all work together, I think that it will come back.
I came here because I heard this was a good recovery town. I'm from New Haven, Connecticut.
Some friends of mine used to call it a do-it-yourself city, where if there's something you want to do it, because the community will embrace it.
I like how, since it's not a very large place, so everything's kind of together, so like you get to know a lot of people around.
I think that they want their kids to be active and not just necessarily go home and do homework and then just hang out.
We provide programs for the youth in the community, all the way from like preschool to through high school, and we partner with some outside agencies that also provide programs for youth in the community, provide support for their programs. A lot of young people now go to college and go on to do really productive things in this actual community, become corrections officers, become teachers, all kinds of things. So I actually have seen kids who have done our programs turn out to be really productive citizens. So
The change that's going on in the educational system is something that, again, people are going to be watching very closely. Eastern Connecticut State University, which had a huge upgrade over the last few years or so. Again, it's going to have its challenges, but it has political leadership, business leadership in the community that's passionate about this community. Again, they've got to get that sort of campus town idea sort of better worked out, as opposed to just having kids stay in their dorm rooms and on campus all the time.
I like how I have the chance to get educated, because it's not something a lot of people are able to do.
I mean, one of the reasons why there's so many people in need is this is the town that offers the services. There's a shelter, there's a soup kitchen, and they need it. And a lot of people, the old guard of Willimantic, the people who were here when the Irish were here and the Italians were here and the French were here, they don't like to see it change so. There's a big Puerto Rican population, there's a Dominican population, there's a Mexican population, and these are all people who come here and work hard and do their best. But they sort of want it to be the old way, and it's never going to go back to that. It's over.
And you go down Main Street, and there's all of these new restaurants, bakeries, travel agencies. With the Hispanic community is in my opinion, very industrious, very entrepreneurial, very committed to this as their home. Whether it's eating Hispanic food or the Polish restaurant or the brewery or whatever. I mean, having that mixture of places for people to to go and be with their families or do their business or whatever. That I think really attracts and makes it a destination.
I've seen some of the general population improving. That they're reaching out, trying to find new information, how to better themselves, better their lives, and see what they can do with what they have. A lot of the improvements that I've seen is, especially here on Main Street, just opening of shops, new restaurants, and they're trying to make it a better place for people to come and walk up and down. With a third Thursday, that's very, very popular, and I think that gets people that aren't in town, that aren't locals, to come into town and see what we have here.
So I think Willimantic has a lot to offer in terms of being the kind of community that people today really want to live in. But it does face its challenges.
When you're talking to families about where do you want to live, number one question is schools, and if some of the negativity that was out there is all that people hear, then they're just going to go somewhere else, and so that's really something that people have to really follow through on and stay committed to.
It's probably got the most spirit. It's downtrodden, it's picked on.
It's a community in transition. I mean, there's no question that it's great heritage as a textile center. Those days are over.
I taught a course at Eastern once, and the students would not come down to Willimantic, and so I required that they come down with me during the class, and we walked around, and they said, oh, it's not so bad, I mean, a lot of people really have the wrong idea about Willimantic.
I think it's gotten a lot better than it used to be.
But again, I think there's a lot of positive change that's been happening, even in the middle of a recession in Connecticut, to try and help districts like Willimantic. To stay on it, we're going to have to work hard to protect, the support for education and healthcare and infrastructure in the town. But on balance, I think it's going to be a very successful community.
I love the place. It's a kind of a love-hate sometimes. They're like when I go to some place where New York City or the mountains of Vermont, I always go, oh God, I could live here. It'd be so nice. But no, I like Willimantic.
I've really been a big fan of Willimantic, both representing clients when I was in private practice of law and working again with local officials over the years.
I think that we just need to take pride in where we live.
Many other images. I've fallen in love with Willimantic. I've worked, played, raised my son here. This is such a deep and rich place for me, as I guess as any place would be. Willimantic is really a very rich place culturally. It's a really nice place.
Change starts with one person, and the change can start within them, within their family.
I think that while Willimantic has certainly had its fair share of challenges, I think it's just coming into its own and having sort of a bit of a renaissance that we've already talked about. So I think its future is looking up, but it still needs the kind of assistance and help that I think only state government can provide.
This little place called Milk and Honey is what saved my life.
And I've lived in Willimantic for 67. I was born and raised here, and I'm not leaving.